Are you using neem oil correctly? In this video, we're going to be covering the benefits of neem oil, some of the things that you need to bear in mind when using it to make sure that it's being used safely and correctly for your plants. We'll also be covering step by step how to mix it correctly so that you can use it as a foliar spray or to water your plants with to benefit from its pesticidal and fungicidal properties. So what is neem oil and why is it beneficial? So neem oil is a natural oil derived from the Azadirachta indica tree. I hope I've said that right. It's originally from India and it's made by crushing the seeds of the tree to make the oil, which is what's in this bottle, and we'll be using this later. It's been used for thousands of years for its many beneficial properties, including for medicinal purposes, cosmetic purposes, as well as being used in agriculture. So this links into why we're talking about it today, as we'll be using it with our plants. I mentioned at the start that it has pesticidal and fungicidal properties, so it can actually be used as a pest control when you notice there might be pests on your plants. It can be used as a preventative if used regularly to prevent pests from attacking your plants in the first place. It can also be used as a fungicide to kill off any unwanted microbes that might then result in damage or disease to the plant. One of the main benefits of neem oil is that it's completely natural and it's been okayed for organic growing. This means that you don't have to worry about having harsh chemicals on your plants or around your home, or affecting potentially beneficial organisms. So long as it's used correctly and in moderation, it's also generally safe around pets. So while it does have many beneficial properties, the main active compound in it is azadirachtin. This will act as a pesticide and pest prevention. Unlike some pesticides, it won't kill pests instantly. It will work over a short period of time, affecting the feeding and breeding abilities of the pests and eventually killing them off. It can also act as a preventative too, so if any new pests come to the plant while the active compound is on or in the plant and they ingest any of it, they'll be affected too. The smell of the neem oil may also act as a deterrent. As we know, plant care instructions vary across different plants, so it's exactly the same with neem oil. When you're using it, it might not be suitable for all plants, so it's always worth doing something like a patch test when using it with a new plant that you've not used it with before. Maybe pick a leaf that's at the back of the plant or somewhere out of sight so you can make sure that it doesn't cause any damage. So on that note, the type of solution that you use will be dependent on the plant that you've got. For example, you probably wouldn't use the leaf spray on a plant with delicate or very, very small leaves like this, as you may not feel comfortable with it being left on the leaves. Equally, if you were planning on then giving it a wipe afterwards as well, if you're cleaning the leaves at the same time, you probably wouldn't be able to do that with something like this because the leaves are too delicate. You may feel the same with things like calatheas, which are particularly sensitive, as we know if you've ever had the dreaded calathea crisp. You may then choose to use the soil solution instead to still get the beneficial compound in the plants, that if any pests do then decide to have a nibble at the plant, they'll still be affected and or deterred from that plant. If you've however got large leaf or sturdy leaf plants like this Monstera deliciosa, or things like larger philodendrons, even pothos, they've got quite sturdy leaves, and acacias, those sorts of leaves where you would feel comfortable leaving the spray on the leaves as a deterrent or even to attack any pests that might be there, or if you are planning on then giving the leaves a wipe, at least you know the leaves are sturdy enough to be able to do that without damaging the plant. So the solution that you use doesn't actually differ whether you are using it on the leaves or in the soil. So if you were instead using it in the soil, if you've got particularly delicate leaved plants for example, then you use it as if you were watering the plant. It's then taken up by the roots of the plant and it is within the plant, so that if any pests come along and suck the sap or chew the leaves, they then ingest that and eventually it will then prevent them from feeding and breeding and slowly kill them off. So neem oil can be quite a contentious topic amongst plant enthusiasts. You'll have some that swear by it, that will always use it as their go-to method for cleaning leaves or as a pest prevention or pest control. You'll have others that will just never use it for fear of potentially damaging their plants. So the important thing is how you use it in terms of how you mix it and apply it to the plant in order to do so safely. So before we look at how we can make the solution correctly to use it safely with your plants, one thing that I would say is never ever use it neat. I have seen some people using it neat or even mixing it with other oils and using it to wipe their leaves down or using it as a leaf polish. However, I think the key word in all of that was oil. You're using a substance which is quite heavy and hydrophobic and putting it on your leaves, which ideally you don't really want to be leaving on the leaves in that sort of state, which could then block the stomata and affect the transpiration of the plant. Equally, you don't want an oily buildup over time on the leaves, which will be really difficult to wipe off and may even affect the overall health of the plant long term. So always use it in a solution where it's diluted down, as we're going to show you now. So it's actually easier than you might think to make the solution. So all you need are a couple of things: neem oil and a liquid soap to act as an emulsifier, which we'll talk about in a second. So with your neem oil, what you need to get is a 100% pure cold pressed neem oil. It's really important that it's cold pressed so that it has all the beneficial compounds in it that you want. We just got this on Amazon, although you probably can get it other places online and in some health type shops like Holland & Barrett. This was for a 500ml bottle about £5 to £10 on Amazon. We'll link it below if you want to get this one, but if you just search for it, you'll find loads of different varieties that you can buy. All you need to make sure is that it's a cold pressed 100% pure neem oil that you're buying. And then lastly, you will need a liquid soap, and this is going to act as an emulsifier to help the oil and the water mix. We've mentioned earlier that oil is hydrophobic. As you may well be aware, if you've ever put oil in water, it just separates and sits on top. So what we don't want to do is mix the oil and the water together, spray it on our plants, only for it to then separate and leave an oily residue on the plant. So we're going to use this Castile soap, which is a base soap without any of the added chemicals that other liquid soaps might have, and this will help the oil and the water mix together. You can use dish soap or hand soap or any other sort of liquid soap that you might have around the house, because you're only using it in a small quantity, but do bear in mind that they will have added chemicals such as things that act as surfactants, or even the foaming agent like sodium lauryl sulfate or SLS, which is what creates the foam when you're washing your hands or washing your dishes. This, on the other hand, doesn't have any of those added things in there. So if you do want to use this type of soap instead, just search for Castile soap. Again, we'll link it below if we can. Then lastly, all you need is the water. Warm or tepid water is better to help the two mix, because you can also find that neem oil, depending on the temperature, it can be very, very thick, or it can even have sort of solids or be lumpy. So this does have some, it is liquid, but I can see that there is some sort of settlement where it has solidified further down in the bottle. So the warm water will just help with that. So let's get on with making the solution. So just like my previous propagation video, my head's going to be cut off for the rest of the shot, just so that you can see what's going on the table. So we've got a 1 litre jug, and all the measurements are going to be based on this mixing with 1 litre of water. You can obviously then scale up or scale down depending on how much you're making. We've got a teaspoon and our neem oil and liquid soap. We've already put the neem oil in there, just 1 teaspoon. We did have a bit of a mishap, hence doing it before the shot, but there's 1 teaspoon of neem oil in there, and then we're also going to put half a teaspoon of the liquid soap in, and that's going to act as the emulsifier. So that's in there, and then now we're going to add a small amount of water to begin with, just so that we can mix the two together. And then we'll add the rest of the water once that's mixed. So we've given this a good whisk just to get it mixed together, and as you can see, the solution there, if I just put it down to the camera, it's got a very, very fine foam on the surface just because we've whisked it up to mix the ingredients together. But if we were using a dish or hand soap that had, for example, SLS in it, that might be a lot foamier than that is there, and it might be quite difficult to work with. So as it is at the moment, that's looks like it's mixed together. It looks like a smooth liquid in there underneath the bubbles. You can leave it for a few minutes just to check that it doesn't separate out again with the oil on top, and then add a little bit more soap if you need to, and then mix it again. But if it does stay as a smooth solution without any separation, then you can add the rest of your water and mix it as you go. So we're going to start that now. So once you've made your solution, you can put it into a spray bottle and start using it. You might, if you do notice that the oil and water do separate at all, just add a little bit more of the soap and give it a shake or a stir, and that should solve it. You may notice that even though this is mixed, if there is any foam or the top layer might give a slight oily residue on the container that you're using. Particularly you'll find this on plastic containers, I've noticed, whereas it's a little bit cleaner if you're using a glass container, but this is just a plastic spray bottle. Just give it a shake before you use it, and when you do go to spray it on your plants, make sure that you get the whole plant to make sure that you're catching any pests that might be there and preventing any from coming onto the plant. So you get the top of the leaf, the underside of the leaf, the stems, and even the soil. As we mentioned before, you can use it in place of one of the waterings, where you'll water it with the solution and then it'll be taken up by the roots of the plant and into the plant, so that if any pests do then come and go to attack the plant, it might act as a preventative, or if they do actually get the plant, it will stop them in a few days and stop any infestation from taking place, because it'll kill them off shortly afterwards. So one of the things that might put you off using neem oil is the smell. Now, we did mention it earlier that it can act as a pest preventative, but it may also prevent you from using it if you don't like it. It's quite a strong smell. The only way I can describe it is maybe quite woody, with a bit of garlic and onion and stuff like that in there. So obviously if you're spraying it around the house or spraying it on your plants, then you may think you actually don't want this smell in the home. You can use other things to mask the smell that will also act as additional pest preventions. So in your solution, when you're making it up, you can also put in things like essential oils, but ones that are safe for plants in a small quantity, usually no more than 1%. So if I was doing, or that's even less than 1%, but if I was doing a litre, I would probably only use 10 drops of essential oil. So I think that's 0.1%. So you only want a small amount, but you can use oils such as lavender, peppermint, spearmint, and eucalyptus. There are a few others. You can just Google and check which ones are safe for plants, but those will also act as natural pest preventatives too, because many pests won't like the strong smell of those either, but hopefully it will make the solution smell a bit nicer if it's going to be around your house and on your plants. If you've got any questions, please put them in the comments below and we'll respond to everyone. If you'd like to see more content like this, then consider hitting the subscribe button and we'll have new videos every Saturday. Thank you for watching Grow Your Wellbeing.